Well, that's true. We need to talk about it more and more, talk about hygiene when it comes to the menstrual entire cycle also a lot. But talking about it, there are sanitary napkins. There are also cups now. And which brings us to our next guest. Let's put the spotlight on the incredible story of Ira Guha. While she was a student at Harvard, she first began exploring the idea of sort of devising a state-of-the-art menstrual cup aimed at India.
Today, the Asancup is selling for around 1,500 rupees in the country. It lasts for 10 years. So it's much better for the environment than using a sanitary napkin. And every time you buy one, one is being donated to a woman in India who needs it. It sounds super neat. Let's go over to Ira to understand more about how she's worked on this entire model. Ira, good morning. Welcome to TVC. Ira, tell us, how did the idea for the Asancup first come about?
So Asan as a social enterprise is 3 years old, but I have been interested in menstrual health for nearly, I would say, 8 or 9 years now. I grew up in Bangalore, but I was studying and working in the UK for several years. And when I went home to visit my parents in Bangalore one Christmas, a domestic worker who was working with my mum had started to miss a few days of work. And when I followed up with her to see if she was sick, I was completely shocked to learn that she wasn't sick at all. She just had terrible rashes from the poor quality pads she was using. This was around the time that poor quality, cheap pads were becoming incredibly popular. And when I spoke to her, I learned that a lot of women who were given these pads were actually switching back to cloth rags because they were so uncomfortable and they leaked. And I ended up gifting her a menstrual cup from the UK, which is the product I was using. And she absolutely loved it. She could work in comfort. And then she asked me, can you please bring me back some more for my niece, for my sister? And every time I was traveling back, I started carrying like 5, 10, 20 cups with me. For anyone who doesn't know, a menstrual cup is a reusable period product that you can wash and use over and over, and it lasts for up to 10 years. So that's how I became interested in menstrual health. And then as a graduate student at Harvard, I actually worked with an engineer to design and patent the Asancup, which is the world's easiest menstrual cup to use, because I had also learned about the difficulties of inserting and removing cups, and I really wanted to make the design very accessible and easy for everyone.
Talking about the design then, Ira, there are several of these menstrual cups in the market. What's the unique IP when it comes to Asan?
So this is the Asancup, and Asan means easy. Our mission is to make everyone's lives easy and worry-free on their period. The main thing that is different in the Asancup is this little removable ring. So older menstrual cups had a stick to locate and bring it lower, and that was actually quite uncomfortable. It used to poke people, and it was really hard to take the cup out. So with this ring, you can kind of just hook your fingers into the ring to bring it lower and then pinch the cup to take it out. The Asancup also has a bell shape rather than a V shape, so it sits very comfortably. The sizing is based on your flow. So just like with pads, we have light flow, medium flow, heavy flow, which means that if you get the right size, it won't leak. And then finally, the Asancup is red because we learned that one of the major complaints people had with cups is that they discolor over time. So after you use it 2, 3, 4 times, it starts to go a bit brown, and some people would stop using their cup because of that. The Asancup, even if you use it for 5 years, will look exactly like this. We use a material called Class 6 medical grade silicone. It is the same material used in heart stents, so it's a medically certified material that is extremely safe for your body.
Ira, one of the coolest things about Asancup is that anytime you're buying one, Asan will give one for free to a woman who is in period poverty. She's not able to buy basic menstrual hygiene supplies for herself. How did you go about developing that model?
So when I first designed the Asancup, I didn't even have a business model in mind. I actually moved to Bangalore and started working with an NGO in rural Kanakapura to look at adoption of the Asancup and see if women would use it. And these were farming communities, mainly silk farmers, daily wage laborers. And what I learned very quickly is that while there was very, very quick adoption of the Asancup, women were able to go to work, girls were able to go to school, there was a very high acceptance. nearly nobody in the community could afford it, even if we were to sell it at cost price. At the same time, I had so many friends both in India and in the UK and the US who had been in our customer feedback trials. So we had 4 trials. We went through 4 rounds of trials when designing the cup. And the feedback they were giving me was, this is so much better than, the highest quality cups that we're using here in the US or the UK. Can you please sell it? Because we would love to buy this from you. And that was when the moment clicked. Actually, there are so many people who can not just afford a high quality menstrual cup, we can even include in the price of that cup the donation. And that's how the 1-for-1 donation model was born. So for every Asancup we sell, we donate one for free to a woman or girl in rural India who can't access safe period care.
Nice. So that's essentially why the price point is how it is, because that's the dilemma even here with urban India. Women who want to use it, the pricing is much higher.
So the Asancup costs approximately 1,800 rupees. You can get it for 1,500 on Amazon. And that is going to be the same as using sanitary pads for just 6 to 8 months, but it'll last you for 10 years. And every time you buy that cup, you're also donating one. With our donations, we partner with very trusted women's health NGOs who have been embedded in rural communities for several decades. And the donation doesn't just include, giving out cups and then not really following up. It includes super detailed education, menstrual health education, training on how to use the cup, and also follow up for at least 6 months. And we don't stop following up with the community until we have at least a 90% adoption rate of the cup.
Ira, tell us, when you were developing this product, what were the challenges that you were facing? Because for many, this is sort of a new technology.
Absolutely. So when it comes to menstrual cups or really any new innovation, the number one challenge is behavioral change, because you are actually asking communities, whether urban or rural, to stop using something that they have been told to use since when they were children, such as sanitary pads or cloth rags, and to adopt something completely different. Now, if I talk directly to, say, a woman in a village and say, use this menstrual cup, there isn't a high level of trust, so I don't have much success. So what I learned with my experience with Asan is all communication and knowledge has to come from a very trusted source. So if we're working, in a village in Gujarat, then it has to be a woman who speaks fluent Gujarati, who's from the community, who's using the Asancup herself, who in a peer-to-peer model can explain to her peers why this was so life-changing. Similarly, if it's a college-going girl in Bangalore, it's going to be most convincing if she hears it from her sister or another classmate. So our entire knowledge dissemination, both in India and globally, is completely based on a peer-to-peer model.
That's quite an ingenious idea, actually. But Ira, lastly, just want to understand how many of these have you sold so far? Because the project seems to be more community-driven than sales at this point.
We have about 50,000 Asancup users, both rural and urban, spread across India. Because we are Bangalore-based, there does happen to be a lot of users in rural Karnataka. But we've also seen incredible uptake in areas around Lucknow and Sitapur in UP. We work with Seva in Gujarat. So we've got projects both in north and south of India. And I don't really think there are any barriers anywhere in India. If you have the right behavioral change model and the right trusted partners doing the education, I think this can work anywhere globally. The only other thing I would really want to add, since this is World Menstrual Health Day, is I would encourage all viewers, don't think about menstrual health as periods. Think about it as economic empowerment. Because in our country, with women missing work due to periods and girls missing school due to periods, we're actually losing $87 billion of GDP every single year. So there's a lot of economic potential that can also be unlocked when everybody has access to safe period care. And that's why it's so important for Asan to grow as much as we can and also maintain the quality of our work, because we're empowering people to earn more, be more educated, contribute more, and live safer and happier lives.